Everybody wants to make money on the internet. So in this video, I'm going to share my screen and my analysis and explain to you some of the most profitable niches creators have discovered on the internet and how you can get into them. I've discovered that there's this whole new industry and this whole new sector of the creator economy, kind of like a unspoken element, right? People haven't really been talking about this. It's something that people don't really discuss that often. And I think it's because they just don't really know it exists. So what I'm sharing with you here is some software called Brilliant Markets. And pretty much it's, if you think of it as like the stock market for the creator economy, right? It's a really cool app. Now, a lot of these sectors that people are looking at, different niches, let's call it that, people are wondering, I want to start on YouTube. What should I get into? I haven't created videos before and I'm just not sure on what I should do. So something like this can actually tell you, what's actually happening in the space. And when you look at all the different sectors here, so if you look, we've got entertainment, we've got productivity, we've got economics, business, finance, etc. There's so many different sectors that are available. Let me just adjust my headphones. Yes, there's so many different sectors available, and it can be confusing for people who don't really know too much about the creator economy. They don't know too much about making videos, business, niche, whatever, right? You could be at different levels, or you could be experienced and still not understand how this sector works. And I think if you actually look and study some of these creators, right, you start to see why. And I'm someone who literally does this as my profession. I'm a software developer. I've built 13 apps that are currently in the App Store, and they're all designed to help creators and creator entrepreneurs increase the revenue, increase productivity, and just make the whole creative process a lot better. And I see the data at scale, right? So let me just show you my portfolio. So you can see here, currently down at 31%, generally up overall. Started off with 500,000, and we've gained 122,000 in the past 4 months. And this is all from studying this creator economy, right? So I can see a lot of these creators, and I can give you some analysis, which I'm going to share with you in a second, of why I think these particular creators are doing well. So just to preface real quick, BMI 500, this is like, say, the S&P 500 equivalent. Then you've got the BMCI. These are like upcoming, I wouldn't say NASDAQ equivalent, but in this case, it's more like upcoming creators, okay? So let me just take a few from the big hitters, okay? So one that stands out, first of all, Alex Hormozy, right? Many people know him from school or just generally YouTube. And the thing with Hormozy is, and I've covered him on Brilliant Markets before, he is someone who just didn't come out of nowhere because he was doing stuff for a long time. But his approach in how he actually presented himself was what really, captivated my attention. He says, hey, my name is Alex Hormozy. I've just sold my companies for X amount of millions, and I have nothing to sell you. I'm just sharing my business with you and business ideas. And I'm butchering it, but you get the point. He pretty much started like that, and that's what captivated the attention of a lot of people, a lot of internet entrepreneurs, because he wasn't the traditional, let me sell you a course, right? He was like, I've already got money and I don't need yours, which is probably the best pitch you could ever make on the internet. And over time, people became familiar with him and was actually like, oh, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. He's not just some guru guy, or he's not a guru, quote unquote guru. And over the years, he's grown. And I have the book on my desk for a reason, because if you have time, go back and watch the launch of $100 million leads. I actually bought 3 of these. I gave 2 to my friends, right? So I've got the hat as well, acquisition.com hat. But the reason why I bought it is because the delivery of that presentation was probably the best delivery I've seen on the internet from any internet entrepreneur. I mean, it was phenomenal. And it shows, someone's business acumen based on obviously how they execute certain ideas. And someone like Hormozy, and the reason why I believe his name and brand has just continued to grow is because he's the real deal. There's not many people you can say online who are that. And as we go into this video, I'm going to share with you a few reasons, like him and others, why these particular sectors are growing. So with him specifically, I would say it's business education, right? That's more or less the category that he's in. And as you can see, his price, which you can see, is $2,038. Previously, $1,254, so some gains there. $783 gains and change, which is fantastic, 62%. And the revenue for his channel is between $13,000 and $37,000 per month, and that's really just taken from AdSense. But if you see here, this is what I love to look at on these charts, is 3,569 videos. Now that's a mixture between long form and shorts on that one channel, but over 3,500 videos is something, right? That's what you call a catalog. And over the last 28 days, he's done 32 million views, and he's currently got 3.6 million subs and growing. And his creator asset is worth around $20 million. Okay. Now, when I look at business education, right, I look at it in a few ways. One, it depends, what business that you're looking to get into will determine, who you gravitate towards on YouTube. But with someone like Hormozy who has the experience, right, you get in all the benefits of someone's failures, successes, and because he's done it at such a high level, hitting the 10, 11 figures, right, ridiculous amounts, you can actually really glean from his mistakes and, like I said, his wins. And business education really is becoming on YouTube a thing of, who has the most results. And I mean, Hormozy talks about it himself, right? He'll be like, start with the results, and if you don't have much, share and document what you're working on or what you're specialist in, right? So that's why I start mine with, hi, my name is Bobby, I'm a SwiftUI iOS software developer, and I built 13 apps that help creators and creator entrepreneurs increase their income, blah blah blah, increase productivity, blah blah blah, right? Because that's my special sauce, right? I'm a software developer and creative strategist, and this year alone I've generated $6 million worth of qualified leads for enterprise value for companies. And those are statistics that I'm proud of, but it's a results game, is my point. And channels like his, who has the monetary results, the experience results, and all of these things combined, and then obviously social results, and then he's investing in school and all these other companies, and he's doing workshops, and he's got the building, right? It's become like a results driven business. So I get a bunch of emails all the time, because my account is small. People are pitching and saying, hey, I want to do your thumbnail. Hey, I've seen this on your Shopify and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, I'm never going to respond to those emails. One, because they're spammy. Two, I don't know who you are. And three, you just pitch me out of nowhere, right? There is enough people in the marketplace, plus a lot of AI technology, which doesn't really warrant the time and effort for those kind of things. Some people are genuine, right? Sometimes they'll leave a comment on your video. But let's think about it. In the business realm, if someone's pitching you or commenting on your video and then they're pitching you in the comment, you're less likely to actually say, hey, yeah, of course I want to jump at the person who's pitched me in my YouTube comments. Of course I want genuine comments for my videos. I don't want sales pitches, right? That isn't really the purpose of the videos. Is to share the ideas with others that will find it beneficial to them and their journey and their business, whatever. But it's become a results driven game. So when I'm looking at other creators, I'm not saying any names specifically here, but when I come across and I'm watching on YouTube, I'm like looking to see, okay, can I learn something? I'm a continuous student of the game, right? So when I'm on YouTube, I'm every day trying to learn something. Yes, a little bit of entertainment slips in, of course. However, for the most part, if you look at my algorithm, it's 99.9% educational, right? So how do you actually overcome this results, you know, league, if you will? If you think of, okay, the Hall Moses, the Ali Abdals, who else we got on here? Alex Becker, Business Roids, Mr. Who's the Boss. He's entertainment, but let's just take education for now. Grant Cardone, Ed Lawrence, another channel that's growing fast, Colin and Samir, right? There's just a few. What makes the difference between those particular channels and those creators? Well, it's of course going to be time. That's one thing that you cannot get around, and I've done videos on this. Like, it just takes time, you know. Forget thinking about views if you haven't done 100 videos. That's my theory that I have adopted, or thesis I've adopted from Mr. Beast, right? There's no point in me expecting these grandiose results if I haven't done the work. And I've been doing, you know, creativity for many, many years. Started out in the music business and was successful there. I was an independent, got my first record deal, 6 figures, when I was 20 years old, moved to Los Angeles, California. So I've seen all of that side from the physical realms. Then as the years have gone on, you know, I've continued my digital journeys and have had monetized YouTube channels before, specifically in music. But it was like a huge gap for me where I wasn't doing like this type of video, you know, educational videos. This is a new phenomenon because business has changed. So now we have a situation where if you're marketing your business, you're pretty much going to be doing YouTube. Okay, it's the best way to get your message out there and for people to know what you're about. Okay, what is it that you believe in? What is it that you sell? What is it that you offer, etc. So in order to boost yourself up the rankings of results, right? If you're a, you know, educator on YouTube, then you've got to do the reps, right? You've got to get some results. You've got to help people. You know, this seems to be like a trend. Let me help a dozen people, get a few testimonials, and then market that. And those people, I guess, are really just marketers, right? Would you put them in the same league as like a Ed Lawrence or a Hall Mosey, you know, Brett Malinowski, you know, Ali Abdal, you know, people who have got real scale with what it is that they have built? Probably wouldn't. And I don't think that is the best lane for creators to take, because from what I could see from the data, you know, there is a correlation between accounts that have large subscriberships and large quantities of videos. I mean, look again, Ali Abdal here, right? Stock price $837, between 8 and 22K on AdSense revenue, and 6.3 million subs, 3.9 million views in the past 28 days, and again, 1,079 videos. Okay, so I keep seeing it time and time again. It's like these channels and these creators who have large followings, a lot of the time they have a huge catalog of videos. I mean, Cardone, that's one that comes to mind, 6,235 videos. Insane. Who's this here? We've got Chris Williamson, bit more in the people on blogs. But if I find something that's a little bit more educational, okay, Graham Stephan, okay, 1,159 videos, 26.1 million views in the past 28 days, and revenue between 7.5 and 21K. So these things, you know, not to be looked over. This is like hardcore data that once you really get your head around it, it starts to make sense, and you'll start to realize that, okay, me doing, you know, 10 videos or 25 videos, and not me, but anyone expecting, you know, everyone to bow down and, you know, purchase their products in this economy, in this market, it's going to be quite difficult. You know, people say, oh yeah, you don't need you know, a large audience, which is true. You can get away with small audiences and converting, but it does depend. You know, there's other channels which I'll pull up as an example here. One that I watch myself. Let's see where he is. Mr. Brez Scales. There he is. So Brez, growing account, very, very fast growth on his channel, and I explain why, right? 175,000 subs as of the past few days, 69 videos, okay? So he doesn't have the thousands, but what he does have is a formula that is working. So he's in, I would still say, the education space, but he's also adopted, and which most, Gen Z creators and creator entrepreneurs have adopted, is this lifestyle vlogging, because they've seen that if you do lifestyle vlogs as your main channel, that's what's bringing in the wide or broad audience, right? People who want to see what you've got, what car you're driving, where do you live, what city are you in, etc. Where do you go to eat, who's your friend circle, all of these things. So he does all of his lifestyle vlogging on his main channel. Then he's got his ROAS, or Brez, I think it is, which is growing fast as well, which is where he does the actual conversion type content. He's in the freelance brand scaling space, so he runs paid advertisements for other companies and brands, and pretty much takes a percentage of what the ads earn the business, and has proven to be a very, very lucrative business model right now. So if you're someone who's like, I'm not sure what I want to do on the internet, but I know it has to be something sales or service based, freelance brand scaling is something that you could look at. I mean, I have clients who do similar services, right, where you do the paid media for them. It's what I've been doing for a while now as part of creative strategy. But if you learn those skills, excuse me, if you learn those skills, these are services that you can offer and do very well. And then if you combine this style of marketing behind it, the lifestyle vlogging plus the actual information, right? Just the no fluff, similar to this. I'm just giving it, plain as day, right? There's no fancy cuts, there's no fancy edits, nothing. It's just, if you want the information on how to pick the most profitable niches, you would watch a video like this, right? And you would have the patience to actually sit through, because the data here is, it's fresh, right? You're not seeing this anywhere on the internet. And I could break down why these creators are doing what they're doing. Here's Azul Wells, another great channel. Came across him on Think Media. He's I would say in the finance niche, definitely, and he pretty much teaches people who are baby boomers, that 60 plus kind of demographic, what their options are for retirement. And when I came across his channel, I was like, wow, this guy has, let's see here, 279K as of the last few days, 4.9 million views in the last month. And again, look at this, 1,788 videos. So the higher viewership, the higher subscriber count, it always comes back to that catalog. Yes, there are times when you can have lower subscriber accounts and, high subscriber accounts and low video catalog. But depending on the niche, for example, like Brez, we take that, it's a different kind of, audience who he's attracting rather than Azul Wells. Azul Wells' demographic doesn't need all the flash, doesn't need to see what Porsche you're driving. He could just be in the park, as is some of his videos, and he's just talking, right? Whereas that younger demographic, people who are between the ages of, say, 14 and 25, let's say, right? They do get attracted by the lifestyle because that's what they aspire to. And, I don't really knock them for that, because it's just different generations and how people have grown up. I grew up as a millennial, and I also saw excuse me, I also saw a lot of that lifestyle, through music, the hip hop scene, driving, cars, jewelry, clothing, lifestyle, whatever, travel, planes, right? So we've all been sold some kind of lifestyle-esque content. Doesn't matter what generation. However, in this current time that we're in, the demographics lean in more towards what resonates with them. And as I've said, Gen Z and Alpha, right, they tend to lean more to the lifestyle vlogs. Millennials, a little bit of lifestyle, but just, pure information. And then boomers, they just want the information, no fancy, fast videos. And again, even better if you are in that demographic and can educate people, because it's a huge demographic that isn't really catered for. And as well, specifically, someone who I've been tracking for a while now, I've got some stock in him. Let's see, right at the top, 25 shares, cost 164, current price 291. So you see, I've gained $3,182 on Azorwell's assets, creator asset, which is perfect, right? 77% gains. And that's all because I've been studying these guys and studying the different sectors that they're in. So if you're someone who's like, I really need to pick the most profitable niche on YouTube because I just want to do business, right? You don't really want to entertain, you want to do business. Well, I'm giving you a few examples here of some sectors to look at or some businesses. So freelance brand scaling, pretty much paid media buying, that's something you can learn. And doesn't take too much, but you just have to have the patience because Facebook's platform, I'll be honest with you, it's not my favorite bit of software I use on a daily basis. I much prefer my own. But from an ads perspective, they of course are, the leaders in the space. And if you learn those skills, then of course you're going to do well. And there's services that you can offer. If you are looking at more, let's say, the just general business education, then again, that's going to stem from like results, which you have to play the long game with that. I don't really think there is, a shortcut to doing that. Because as I gave you the whole Mosey, just before he blew up in the past, say 4 years, right? He already had success, with gym launch, things like that before. Sam Ovens, another one who I learned tons from over the years. He's someone who had consulting.com before he had school. And now school's very popular because he knew what his plan was. He was like, I've sold consulting.com. I'm going all in on school. He wasn't doing this, he wasn't doing that. He just went in on that one thing, which ended up attracting Hall Mosey as a investor, right? And I think they knew each other before that. But to have someone like Hall Mosey with that audience, that level of experience of business marketing, right? That's a recipe for success, which clearly you can see. Clearly you can see from school, okay? So if I move on a little bit more, I want to look at Colin and Samir because with their channel, they're pretty much like I would say the talk show hosts of the creator economy. That's the best way I can, describe it without all the crass and, artists performing mid-show, right? All these generic interviews, selling a product. They actually do deep dive interviews with some of the most interesting creators. And if there's any show I would love to go on, it would be that one. The reason being is because I know once I was on there and speaking with those guys, then I know I've really done something in the creator economy space because their information and research and just general insights on this growing industry and this growing sector is, I would say, in the top 5 in that category for sure. And it shows with the kind of guests that they choose to have on their show. But I say them specifically because their format, if you will, isn't just, talk to, the creator and just ask them basic generic questions. They have like really insightful dialogue. And I think if that is more your flavor in terms of like podcasting or, host, interviewee or host guest type format, then studying those guys would be something really great. Now, I'll just put it out there, since I've been tracking them, their subscriber account isn't a channel that's growing at a rapid pace. And I think the reason for that is because, one, they're playing the long game. Two, they're not trying to get, mass audience, right? It's a very select few people who really like that, in-depthness on the creator economy, right? Because it's still new. And even things like this, what I'm showing you, software like this, you've got so much information, right? You got so much information here. And this might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I tell you what is everyone's cup of tea. This right here. When you see total gain, loss, or percentage change, or portfolio value, now you start to pique the interest of, oh, wait a minute, Bobby, how are you making that much money from this thing? I don't even know what it is, right? So it's piecing together the business side and the creative side, which, is something I've worked on over the years to really harness and get good at, is being like a hybrid creator, entrepreneur. I love the business side, but I'm naturally a creator. So I've had to learn to do both. And even with the software that I develop, it's all designed to pretty much making creators and creator entrepreneurs' lives easier, right? Through software, it's just automating a lot of stuff and just thinking ahead of how you can actually, achieve certain things. And Colin and Samir definitely a channel that really go in depth with how the creator economy is growing. So again, no financial advice, but if I could invest in those guys, which I can, I would and have. Moving forward, I would pick out, let's have a little look here, because I want to show you some accounts that are, more in the education space, like, again, most profitable. Entertainment, it goes without saying, right? Mr. Beast, of course, massive. Another one that you might not know, let me just show you that before I move on to some more businessy ones. Gawk's Art. This is for people who would consider themselves super artistic, right? If you are someone who is, just in their zone and you just like the art, then that's a channel that you would look at. And he's done pretty well based on his level of creativity, right? So current stock price, $263. Channel doesn't make that much on paper, mainly because he doesn't upload that often, right? So if you see here, so he's got 2.4 million subs, 369,000 views in the last month, and 132. But you see, he's one of those channels where as soon as he drops in, say, a couple days, a week, it'll have millions of views. And it's because he is purely focused on the art. Now, it takes a whole lot of discipline as a creator today to go down that route, not go down lots of videos, reduce quality or compromise quality. You're someone who's purely about the art. And he's an artist who wants to be a director, I believe, from Mexico. Really inspirational channel if you're just looking for creative, insights or inspiration. 100% look at him. But that's like one direction that you could take if you're prepared to just stick with the art entertainment or just general artist entertainment route. There is options to do so. You could get bigger brand deals that way because people know, like, okay, whatever you sell, it has to be something great, and it will be weaved into the video, more importantly, in a very unique way. And me personally, something I'm working on now, which is on the ad side of things, from making a lot of creative just in general. One thing that really does bug me, I'll be honest with you guys, this really bugs me, is when you see these ad reads that are just so generic, there's no life to them. And I've been saying this for a couple of years. I believe that there is a lot more innovation to be had with paid advertisements. And I'm talking about those sponsored ads that you see, pop up, not the YouTube ads, but the actual sponsored ads that the creators have to read out for whoever's paid them for a slot minute, usually on their video or multiple videos. I just think that with it's not television, right, or the radio, and a lot of these ads just sound like they're optimized for audio podcasts but not video. Because yes, I'm not against creators selling their product, But what I am against is creators who are supposed to be creative not taking enough effort to make a great ad. And there's so much more that can be done with them that can still sell whatever you're selling, but also be a little bit entertaining for the viewer, not feel like their viewing experience is being massively interrupted with this, pretty much boring ad read. Sorry to say, but I think there's a lot of space for innovation in that area. And I say that to say because Gawk's art, if you watch his videos when he does have a sponsor, it is weaved in so effortlessly. You have no idea what just happened, right? It's just part of the script. And again, the reason why I'm a big believer in script writing for YouTube is because the better you get at writing, the better your videos will get, hands down. The best movies have a script, hands down. Best TV shows, script. So all that video entertainment you've been used to, and I guess this is my entertainment background kicking in here, but the video that you're used to, all is script written, right? It's all scripts. So people say, oh yeah, I just need an outline. Okay, this video here is no outline. This is just me talking. However, I understand the point that I'm getting at, what I wanted to get across. But having no script, is limiting you. If you can manipulate the words in a certain way that really is going to captivate your desired audience, then your videos are going to do really, really well. I'll be honest with you, they're going to do really well. And I just generally think there's a lot of space for that. And I'm working on something that pretty much is for people like myself who do, maybe creative strategy, paid media buying, just a tool that can really organize the ads for your clients, okay? Because different clients have different ways of communicating. Some people use SMS, email, WhatsApp, Slack, Glue, phone call, video call, Teams. There's so many different ways to communicate. Notion. But if you've got I would say a more centralized way where people can just access this quickly, like a few taps on your iPad or MacBook, or phone even, then that would be a lot better. That would be a way better experience. So that's that. But going back to some of the more lucrative opportunities here. So I'll use this one because I really do believe I want to be balanced here. I don't want it to just be about educational channels, business education, because there's a lot more ways that you can, get it going for you. But two options or two examples. Good, right? This stands for good golf. They're a bunch of guys similar to, like, I would say Dude Perfect, where there's like a few people involved. But these guys are golfers. They're into golf. I'm into golf. Love it. Great sport. And what really blew me away with these guys is just the ingenuity with this model, because they took something that has already a large audience, which is sport and golf. And this is a hack that you can do if you've got a particular interest in a specific thing like sports or something in entertainment, let's just say. If there's already a large audience, then you can actually benefit from, going on the back of that and making it your own. So what these guys did is they just played golf. And it sounds ridiculous that they would get, how many subscribers? They've got 1.8 million subs at the moment. They did just short of 10 million views in the last 28 days. And they've got 606 videos on the channel, right? And income, you ready for this? $25,000 to $70,000 a month from their channel. That's just usually taking in AdSense. This won't take in, any business they've got on their back end usually. Things like Shopify or merch or whatever it is that they sell, sponsored ads. 25 to 70K. And these guys just play golf. They love it so much, they go to different golf courses. I'm still going through their back catalog, but I came across them a while ago, and I knew straight away, I was like, this is a really great model, because they've taken a sport that doesn't really have, the aura around it from a social standpoint. But these guys made it cool, and they've been able to collaborate with brands like Callaway. I just watched one today. It was at the was it Marmont, I think, or one of the U.S. Open golf courses, and just getting those opportunities, right, to get on a course before the top PGA golfers in the world get to play on it, based on them having an audience and a love for the sport. These things actually snowball into a whole array of opportunities because they've tapped into an industry like sports, for example, golf, which already has tons of infrastructure behind it. So most of those companies are like legacy companies who don't really have, a foothold, let's say, on a pulse on what's going on the internet. And when you come into the game, you already have a pulse on the internet and you understand their world. This is just a recipe for success, honestly. This literally can catapult your success, and that's what's happened with Good, right? They have full merch line, which is pretty much like their business. Their business is the clothing, right? Good golf. So they got the caps, they got all the clothing that you could think of for golfers. So them playing the sport is what markets the products. And once you have those two things that are just intertwined, these become the most profitable niches because you're not doing something that's out of your remit. You're doing something that you love. For example, me doing these educational videos for, I don't know, since I was 17, I have been on a computer like this, right? Whether it was production, songwriting, editing, mixing, you name it, anything to do with audio production or video production, this has been me, right, on a computer. So me pivoting over the years to this type of format, becoming more of a, I guess, a brand, an educator, if you will, whatever you want to call it. All right, it wasn't too much of a pivot, but I did try and still doing some more external stuff. But this is my realm, right? And I think once you combine what it is that you're good at, what you love, and find that balance, that harmony, this is the recipe to picking the most profitable niche on YouTube. And Good is a prime example of that. And if you are into golf, 100% check them out because they've got it down pat. And I think they will continue to grow. And it's a channel that I'm very, very excited about. And if I'm not mistaken, very, very excited about them. But just on the flip side, I'm going to give you one more example here, okay? And I want to pick something that maybe a little bit out of the box. Let's see. Because there's a few, accounts or few creators that I look at and I'm just like, wow, these guys, these guys know what's going on. So, okay, I'll give this one. I've done a video on him before, so it's probably a little bit cheating, but I think it's a good example. So, copywriting. This is something that is an old skill, writing in general, but copywriting specifically, writing ways that convert sales, right, or customers into sales, is, I would say, it's a dying art form. But this guy, Dickie Bush, used to work on Wall Street, investment banking, I believe. And he built up a really great copywriting business, kind of like ghostwriting business. And I think when I first came across him, I think it was on X, he said he was doing, I think it was between $300,000 and $500,000 a month. And I was like, when people say that on the internet, you have to take note, especially when it's in something that isn't, quote unquote, popular like that. A lot of people talk about copywriting, but it's not the most sexiest of sectors to get into. Anyway, the reason why I thought he would be someone to track, and as you can see, just real quick, 10,000 shares, right? Bought them at 1.39, current price 269, 93% gains on that holding. Now, I went super long on Dickie Bush because someone who's worked in investment banking knows that area very well. Very analytical, very thoughtful, very like aware of many things in general. But then when you combine that kind of background with a solid digital business, again, this is where that recipe for success and how to pick the most profitable niche really kicks in here, because I knew from reading some of his tweets and seeing, he didn't even have any videos. This was the thing. I saw him before he actually was posting on YouTube. I just saw his tweets and saw him on some interviews. And I knew, I was like, okay, this guy's solid, good businessman, right? He knows his sector inside out. He was given like, some Hormozy vibes, just very, logical, analytical, no fluff, no nonsense. And I just knew that he was going to, come to YouTube eventually. I would check his channel. There was nothing there, nothing there. And then when I saw the video popped up, I saw the thumbnail. So yeah, I spoke to Hormozy. I knew straight away, okay, he's on that trajectory now to actually start growing his business at scale. So he'll probably look to go from 500,000 to 1 million or more per month based on his 2025 plans, right? The only thing I would say after studying and tracking his channel is just to be more consistent with the videos. And I know I'm sure he has the resources to figure that out. But once you start that trajectory, it's like you just don't want to stop. I mean, I've seen it on this channel now, 850% increase in subs, even at this small scale. But 850% is 850% growth, okay? Just in 2 weeks of increasing my upload ratio and quality of videos from 1 to 4 per week. Hence why you're seeing 2 videos per week, a video every 2 days. Because that's the schedule that I'm on now, and I have to stick to that. Because one of the tools that I have in Brilliant Video, I'll show you real quick, is called Projection, I think it is. Yeah, Projection. So it's a simple tool. You pretty much type in how many videos that you've got. Say I've got 26, and you are going to do 4 a week, let's say, and your target is 100 videos. It then will tell you the date in which you will hit that target of 100 videos, which is the thesis that I'm going to say I stole it from Mr. Beast, right? Because it makes sense. But tools like that really just literally changed my mentality towards YouTube. I was like, okay, this is what I have to do. 4 videos a week, no excuse. Make the videos great, vary the videos, test certain styles, see what works. Go outside your comfort zone, try some things. Some videos might get 10 views, some might get 1,000 views, right? Really doesn't matter, especially when you haven't done 100 videos, because you cannot expect views without that. So whatever the length of this video it'll be, how to pick the most profitable niche on YouTube, and then the amount of minutes that this video will be, which, will be what it will be. But I would say just stick with that schedule, because people see that, people recognize that. And especially when you have a lot of value to offer, it's something that will pay dividends for years to come. And his channel specifically, I'm excited to see more of, because I think there'll be more people like that who will come to YouTube. People who have been very, let's say, high up in the corporate world and have skills that translate or transfer into the creator economy. And if they build a solid business on the back end, then, really it's just a matter of just putting in the work in this space. If you put the same kind of effort and energy into YouTube as you do with your business and other things in the past, and of course you're going to do well over time. I mean, that's how I think about it. I think over 20 hours of audio, like I've produced, written, 24 projects, 4 books, just a lot of content, right? Sorry, I saw something on my roof. Just a lot of content. And if I put that same effort and energy into my YouTube channel, I know that in time I will achieve the things that I'm trying to achieve. But of course, you have to put in the work. You have to be a student. You have to be learning. You have to be studying. You have to be seeing what's going on in the market to actually know, what the most profitable niche could be. And tools like this, Brilliant Markets, for example, very, very useful. Someone like Alex Becker, someone who literally does YouTube channels for fun, pretty much, it seems like. He's the owner of Hyros, great tool for anyone who's running ads. He's just doing straight business in his style, and he's grown this channel relatively quickly. And I think he's got, let's see, Business Road 67, around 70,000, somewhere around there, subscribers, and he's hit that 100 video mark, all long form pretty much, and he's giving people the information that they're looking for, right? He doesn't have to do the whole lifestyle thing. That's not what he does. He just does funny entrepreneur type videos. So there's many ways how you can play it, but using tools and analyzing what's going on in the space already can actually help. And I've found just from using Brilliant Markets that it's given me a different perspective on my own niche, right? Which, if you look here, Brilliant Bobby, I'm more in the creator business niche, okay? No stats. 37 subs, 846 views in the past 28 days, and 26 videos, and this video will be video 27. And just real quick, I'll show you a couple other insiders. So things like e-commerce, drop shipping, BSM Fredo, someone who's part of the Miami crew of the Gen Z, really funny guy. And he's just on it with his business. Ben Beta, information, copywriting. These are like these upcoming guys. Lyndon Chastain, I'm in his school community. He's been doing YouTube for a long time on the education side. Another one to look out for, he's building up a second channel, purely business. Again, taking the formula. It's like, okay, taking the formula correct. If one channel is a specific category and specific niche, then let it be that, right? I had a channel before, which is Brilliant Voiceovers, and I had a video blew up, but it brought in the wrong audience that I was looking for. So I had to start this one from scratch because I didn't have the right audience. And sometimes you have to do that. But once you've found your niche and what it is that what your style is, then just stick with it and build, adapt, but stick with it, and just make sure you don't bring in other stuff on that channel, because that's where things start to go wrong. And that's where a lot of YouTubers do go wrong, from what I've researched and analyzed. Is when I've seen certain channels, I'll be like tracking the channel, and then I'll just see like a switch. I'll be like, oh, what happened here? And it's like, oh, they just don't post for like 70 days. So you can see like the patterns of who's consistent and who isn't, based on, one, the price change, and two, I can just see it from the amount of videos that they have on the channel and who pops up on my algorithm the most. That's who I'm more likely to listen to, work with, buy products from, is people who I'm seeing more often, right? That is the game today. Grow with Evelyn, another one to look out for. She's doing really great videos, one of the top school community creators. She teaches a few things, ads and how to build your community, stuff like that. But again, she got the results, done over 7 million, I think, in revenue in her business, being top school community creator, and the list goes on. And let's see, anyone else on here? Pierre Curry, he's one of the Miami Gen Z crew, friends with Fredo, Brett Scales. These guys are in the, growth operating, I would say strategist category of things. He's a little bit more behind the scenes than, say, Brez and Fredo, but he's in there, He worked with Caprice. You might find him. He's a young fashion entrepreneur. I think he's based in Houston now. And again, you see how I'm just giving you this information is because I actually study this market. So I would consider myself a creator economy analyst, right? Because the tools are here for us to actually use them now. So I'm going to wrap it there. There's a lot of information to unpack. I hope you found this format useful. There is some more videos where I talk about some of these subjects in a bit more depth. If you struggle with perfectionism, then watch this video and I'll break that down for you, how you can overcome that. But thanks for watching. See you later.